Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty, where I create with paper and photos in artful ways. I am here with one final video on my Crafty Advent calendar from December, and I had requests for how to make this 3D suitcase based on the day 24 goodie, and I'm just now being able to get to that, so let's do it today. As a reminder, here is the day 24 goodies we received, all the dies to make a flat suitcase, including some decoration. And so I did make this tag, and I turned it 3D by gluing on these straps to go through the little buckles, all that's included. And I made it 3D enough to fill with goodies that the recipient can be surprised with. So to start this new build, I pulled out a few sheets of cardstock, including some silver foil to be the hardware on the suitcase, and also some fun foam to give thickness to this tag. Now, you don't have to use fun foam. You can die cut extra layers of cardstock for this, but I want to make this a little bit quicker on myself, and I'm going to use the foam. So you've probably done die cut stacking before, where you die cut multiple pieces and stack them up. This is the same thing. You just have to combine these two dies, which are intended to cut out different pieces, and it will create frames that you can then stack up for the dimension of a 3D suitcase. All right, the trick to this is to have a good craft tape so that you can tape these two dies together. And once that is done, you'll see that you will get an inner piece to this cut and also a rim, and that's what we need for creating the suitcase. If you've never cut with fun foam before, it's readily available in craft stores, very inexpensive, adds a nice dimension. The only tip that I would give is that you set it back from the edge of your die plates just a bit so that your die has time to start that process before it hits the extra thickness of the foam. Now, it will squish down a little bit as it's cutting, but the nature of foam is that it will kind of reinflate itself after a little bit of time. So you can die cut fun foam, no problem. All right, after my die cutting session, I have 3 layers of the fun foam, and then I also die cut with the same. Before you take that die apart, you want to die cut the extra pieces that are going to be the decorations for various parts. And if you're using fun foam in this, you do want to have at least 1 layer of cardstock in there, because the fun foam is all stretchy and wobbly, and the cardstock is going to give it structure when you're gluing everything together. All right, I am going to go ahead off camera and die cut all of the extra bits, including the straps and the handle and the buckles for this project. Now, the straps come on a single piece with 2 different strap styles, and you'll need to cut that twice. All right, I did pull in another color of cardstock here. I took my dies apart and just used that outer edge, which is intended to be the front of the suitcase, and cut that in this kind of gray color, and you'll see why in a minute. And then I cut extra pieces for adding detail and contrast. And there's lots of ways that you can mix and match all these pieces. So play with your pieces and see the look that you like. And then when I flip that over, you see the gray on the inside. And suitcases, modern suitcases, are often lined with some kind of different fabric liner. So that's why I chose to cut this piece out of gray. So now we need to assemble all these pieces. And then, as you can see, very sloppily here, it will start building a 3D suitcase. So here's the space where we need to stabilize that fun foam with our cardstock. This is a lot of gluing, and I've got to wait to help all that adhere together. Fun foam dries much slower than cardstock, so that is good and bad. It's good because it gives you plenty of time to kind of wiggle everything into place, and that fun foam will be a little wibbly wobbly. But it will take a lot longer to dry, especially when you're getting these 3 layers going on. So I will set that under, once I've got everything aligned, I will set that under a heavy block so that it can take its time to dry while I work on other parts of the project. As we start gluing the decorative pieces down to the front of our suitcase, we need to make some decisions here. This is the rim another rim that I cut out of cardstock. I'm going to glue all but one edge of it down to the suitcase front. And that will give you the option when you add your handle to this front piece of the suitcase. Do you want it glued on the outside? Do you want to tuck it underneath and hide kind of the bulk of the handle, which is probably intended to be hidden for the designers? Or do you want to glue it on the inside? So there's some decisions to be made. All right, we are ready to start building up the 3D aspect of that. So I've got the second back piece of the suitcase. If you want to add decoration to other parts of it, go for it. I will decorate the very back side of this. And that is because if you want this to be a very standalone little suitcase that maybe some kids could play with, or if you're a fun-loving adult, you can play with it too. So I did decorate the back side of the suitcase. And then I'm just going to glue that thick rim that we built up to the backside, the inside backside of the suitcase. And that will complete the 3D frame for our suitcase. And then it's time to attach the front of the suitcase to the back of the suitcase. And we're going to do that with the 2 buckles and the straps. Now, the straps come in 2 styles, one long square strap and one shorter rounded strap. You have some choices to make here. Again, if you like the round look, you can glue a short round one to a long square one to create all of the straps you need in a rounded shape. I'm just going to stick with the square long ones to be my closures at the top. You do need a longer style for that upper closure. So whatever you decide to do, whether you piece them together and glue them together, go ahead and get all that set and glued down and we can move on. So you did make sure when you glue those down that they do clear the handle of the suitcase. So I did position them to the far edges of the suitcase as I can. Now I'm creating the buckle. Using my tweezers, I grabbed just the one upper edge of the buckle and then I bent it. So we're going to glue this buckle down just at that upper edge. And if you want to add more strength to this buckle, you can glue 2 buckles together to make it more durable for lots of action of opening and closing, because whoever gets this is probably going to want to play with it a bit. So I get that just upper edge glued down and I kind of wiggle everything around to make sure that the buckle is free at the bottom, because that is what we need to hold everything closed. All right, you can see that I did those straps glued on to the front just at the bottom. I am just going to fold them over, and once I get kind of a general placement of those folds, I will give them a little bit of a reinforcement so that when I glue them down, they will be tidy looking. Now you have a choice to make here also. You can glue just the bottom or just the back side of that strap so that it glues only to the back of your suitcase, or you can glue all along the bottom as well. And that will make the suitcase open slightly differently depending on how you glue it. I'm finding though that the glue on the bottom doesn't stick to those layers of fun foam very well, so mine just ended up opening up all the way. But here, let me show you, if it were glued completely down, this is how it would open, versus if you skip that center section, it will open more like this. All right, now it's time to add that upper buckle or the upper strap, and it is very similar to the lower strap, except for that you do have to thread it through the buckle first before you bend it over. And I will do that in a couple of steps to make sure that everything seems to be lining up correctly. And then when you glue this one, you only glue it on the back because you want to be able to open up the front of that strap. Okay, here I am trying to demonstrate how it's working, but it's not quite dry yet. Don't do what I do. Let it dry thoroughly, because otherwise you risk misaligning everything and ruining your project. Now, the base of this is done, and you can decorate it up however you want. There's lots of pieces in the die set for adding different decorations to your trunk. Oh, I wanted to note here that the buckle and the straps have holes and pegs that can interlock with each other, but I did not use those for building the 3D trunk because they're not strong enough. All right, so that wraps up my little trunk project, and as you can see, the straps will slide into those buckles because of the way we glued them down, and you can open it up and see the goodies inside. And don't fill this with glitter, please. Don't kill somebody with glitter, but sequins are great because they're easy to clean up. And any other little goodies you want, and I like that I can create this freestanding, or I can glue it down to a project. All right, I hope you appreciated seeing that tutorial, and I will be back with my regular crafty videos soon. Until then, have an artful day.